What's up YouTube, Mo here. Today we're going to make Italian rice croquettes. This is a great dish, it turned out a lot better than I expected, and I'm going to actually deep fry these today. This is my 100th video, so let's get it started. So here I've got some scraps from a tenderloin, and long story short, tenderloin is where filet mignon comes from. My dad just brought one home yesterday. He's a chef, by the way, so he knows a lot of good places to get them for a good deal. At this time of the year, if you go to a wholesaler, you can get a whole tenderloin for 60 bucks. So you're going to salt and pepper generously both sides of the meat. I didn't leave it up for an hour. I'm not making steak, so it really doesn't matter. And if you want, you can cut it into small pieces now or after you fry it. That's up to you. By the way, don't ever use filet mignon for this dish. I just did it because it's what I had. You can use ground chuck. You can use, realistically, you can use anything you want. You can use ground beef if you want. But again, filet mignon is 20 bucks a pound, and I'm using a pound. You don't want to spend that much on the recipe. Filet mignon doesn't have a whole lot of flavor for this kind of cooking, so really don't use it. Place your pan on the highest setting for about 3 to 4 minutes, place in your oil, wait for it to get hot, then put all the pieces of meat at the same time. Normally you don't want to do this because then the temperature goes down, it doesn't really get that brown crust, but since we're going to cool it down, put it in the fridge, it's not really as big a deal this time. I mean, it's better to do it the other way around, but I just want it all done once for a change, instead of working in batches of 2 or 3. This is as much color as they're going to get, considering I'm cooking so many at once. It makes me want to just do the whole thing over and basically do it in batches, but it's no big deal. Now, I'm not looking for this to be medium rare. You could, because then when you deep fry it later, it'll cook more, but my mom's going to eat it this time, and she likes me well done. And stuff like this well done is usually really good anyways, so don't worry about making it medium rare or anything. Maybe 4 or 5 minutes aside. This is thick meat. For you, it'll depend on the size, the shape, and the thinness. Let your meat rest and get a little cool for the next step. Now, you can cut your meat with a knife if you'd like, but I'm using a food processor. I've got about half of it in here. I'm giving it a couple on-off pulses, and it kind of slipped off, so just 1 second, on-off, then maybe a few seconds blitzing it, to the consistency you like. So for example, that's not bad. Some people like it a little bit thicker, a little bit thinner. It's up to you, but this is perfect for me. Okay, now we're going to bring everything together. Place your meat in the bowl, along with rice. Now, the amounts aren't critical, but I'm going to post kind of a quick reference. Next up, some marinara sauce, or tomato sauce, whichever one you happen to have lying around. I'm going to go with 1 egg as a binder. I'm going to have some cayenne, salt, and black pepper. I'm going to add 1 cup of cheese. I just had regular cheddar, but you know, Romano or anything Italian really would work a little bit better, but it's okay. Don't be afraid to add a lot more cheese next time you make it. Finally, some breadcrumbs. Kind of hold it all together. Now the next step, you want to kind of bring it all together. The best bet is to wear some gloves. You know, just mix it all by hand. That's literally the best way. You can use a spoon or a spatula, but gloves by far better. Wrap this up and toss it in the fridge for half an hour so everything gets cold and the salt will do a little bit more binding and everything will just kind of mellow together. Now you can do this however you want. You know, I've done the round orb when I did my tuna croquettes, but right now I'm gonna make it kind of a football shape. To make it an actual round ball is a lot more difficult. You need a lot more binder, but if you want to keep the round shape, deep frying is the way to go. Pan frying would never work. I'm making a little kind of football shape, not the European football, more like the American one. Alright, so just keep going. Size doesn't matter, just pick a shape, pick a size, stick with it. Make sure they're all roughly the same. Okay, let's move on to a deep fryer's best friend, breadcrumbs. These are panko breadcrumbs. They're from Japan. They're pretty much the best ones to use. And trust me, some of you guys out there are saying, what about egg wash? What about flour? You could, but something like this is not that necessary. Again, if you want to, you're making like 8 of them for a big family event, go for it, but I'm only making about 14. This is what I'm getting. I really don't want to use them. So it's up to you. You want to do that and make the mess, go for it, but it looks like it's not a lot of breadcrumbs, but these are panko. They will hold quite a lot more than you think. So once you've done that, let it rest for like 15 minutes. Now for the oil. Roughly 350 is probably the best way to do it. Now for the deep frying. 350 is like the best thing you can do. If it goes 360, 370, no worries. Basically, if you put it on medium heat for about 5 minutes, it should reach that temperature. Some people don't bother checking. They just let it get hot and toss it in, and it does work most of the time. I'll give it that, but I like doing it with the thermometer, just kind of guarantees it. So I'm going to toss in a few of them, maybe 5 or 6. Let's see how many I can fit here. These cook very quickly when you're using 350 degrees. Believe it or not, for them to go to this, literally took less than 2 minutes. How awesome does that look? Now some of these might look darker than they should be, but these should be very, very dark. Some places might even have them a little bit darker than this. It's just kind of the way they look. Now be careful, some of them might be a little bit stuck to the pan. It is a little bit difficult sometimes when you're shallow frying them, but they should really attach when they're flipped over. So just easy, there we go. Now this side here literally took the same amount of time, like 1:30, 1:40 seconds. Don't really go by time, go by how brown they are. But I wouldn't go around checking them a bunch of times because if you squeeze it with the tongs, they will fall apart. So what I recommend you do is like wait 1.5 minutes and then check them. Now if you're a fan of this program, which after watching this video you better be, you're going to know exactly what comes next, aren't you? Cooling rack time. Place them on the cooling rack, that way all the excess grease drips down into the newspaper and it catches it. But when you put it, make sure right away you season it with salt to give it this nice salty taste with the texture and the meat. It'll work so perfectly. Don't put it on napkins. When you water away all that grease, really you won't be able to season it with salt properly, so just let it drip naturally. Give it 2 to 3 minutes for it to cool down. And that's it, you've got traditional Italian rice croquettes. Not too bad for my 100th video. I cannot wait for my next 100. Try it out, guys. I got some marinara and some lemon on the side. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope you all enjoyed my first 100. I can't wait for the next 100. So anyways, go to mos-kitchen.blogspot.ca for the full recipe. And as always, guys, enjoy.